Hey there, good afternoon. It's a beautiful, amazing sunny day. We should actually be outside doing this here in Denver.
Now that you say that, it's warm.
Yeah,
it's
warm in here. So I'm here, of course, with the amazing Fran Gallagher. It's been a little while, so I'm glad that we're back doing this again. And so we thought we'd talk about toxins and how we have toxins that we typically think of that are in the environment and, we take in or we may hold on to. But we also have other types of toxins. We've got mental and emotional toxins, things that build up and can create really true physiological changes. And so also what we want to be aware of is we know we live in this environment and we want to do our best to be as clean as we can, but we can't control everything. So I think that that's one of the things that we want to hit on today is let's do our best. Let's be as clean and as healthy as we can, but we don't want to go overboard because we can't be perfect. And
Right.
we need to keep a sanity around it all. And
Right.
so Fran has a story, of course.
So something like 25 years ago, I was a technical writer. And believe it or not, I wrote user's guides for hardware and software. And
Oh, that sounds terrible.
it was. So I was at the time somewhat recently into energy and yoga, and I got a crystal to have on my desk at work. And someone told me that no one was supposed to handle my crystal. So I put my holy, like the holy hand grenade, my holy crystal for my energy, beautiful purification in my office. I put that on my desk. And every day that I came to work, it would be in a different place. And I was trying to have it stay energetically clean. So I think at the time I believed that you were supposed to soak it in salt water. And I may have done that, I don't remember, but I also thought, well, I can't enjoy the crystal if I'm forever soaking it in salt water because somebody's always messing with it. I also had a book about yoga that
crazy.
hid. It was crazy. I hid this book about yoga in my bottom drawer under some things. And part of the problem, well, I also wouldn't use the fluorescent lights in my office. And I used just daylight.
You were cool before it was cool.
And I used a lamp. Well, people would come by my office and poke their head in and say, "Can you see?" And I would say, "Yes." And they'd say, "Why don't you have your lights on? What is that on your desk?" And I was the strangest creature, apparently, in this office. And I finally gave up being private about any of this when one of my coworkers came in, and remember the yoga book was in the bottom drawer of my desk with other stuff on top of it. And he came in and he wanted to talk to me about that yoga book that I had. So
Surrounded by nosy.
But there's only so much cleanliness that we can have regarding our diet or our crystals or our energetic environment. And I think it's really worth talking about how to take care of ourselves and try to eliminate whatever is toxic in our environment, whether it's eating it, sleeping on it,
Putting it on our skin.
right,
our
having
hair.
people who are toxic in our world,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it happens to be. Number one, we have to stay sane. And we can't get OCD about this because that'll mess us up as much as anything else.
Well, it'll
would.
create more stress. And so if you're
Yes.
stressed, what does that do? It's more
Yes.
toxins and it's more cortisol and more junk. It's very technical, by the way, very clinical.
I like the jump. Yeah, so I think that there is a level at which we want to operate with as much integrity toward ourselves as possible, and toward others, of course. But keep in mind that we live in a both a nurturing, supportive environment and a toxic environment.
It's true. Yeah, I totally agree. When I think about the toxins and I talk to my clients about toxins and toxic load, we can, when it comes to our physical, we have the ability to test for these things. We can look at, elevated cortisol levels. We can look at heavy metals. We can look at, glyphosate, which is Roundup. It's the herbicide that's put on all of our food. Mm-hmm.
How? Mm-hmm. And it's delicious.
What?
I'm joking. You said it's on all of our food.
It is non-organic food.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an herbicide, and it's Roundup. So it's also, if you put it in your yard, it's in your yard. It's on your dog's feed. It's on your kid's feed. It's
and
on
I've heard
everybody's.
it's an endocrine disruptor.
It's an endocrine disruptor. It's called a xenoestrogen. And so what it does is it binds to estrogen receptor sites. And it's a really tight binding. And so it doesn't allow for our natural innate estrogen to do its job. So then we've got our natural estrogen running around. We've got xenoestrogen. So it creates this estrogen dominant situation and can create problems for men, for women, for children. On top of that, it's just toxic. So it sits in our tissues and creates problems. And it's just nasty stuff. And it's really frustrating that we still are allowing it on our food. And I had somebody argue with me on, it's like a Facebook argument on how okay it is to have a little bit of toxic on our food, but it's stuff that we eat every single day. When you do something every single day, you don't want to continue to take that stuff in.
Well, and the other thing is that if we can eliminate that particular toxin, why don't we? Yeah. And we're still going to have a toxic load. And so this person, maybe your friend, you can always go get some dirt and put it in your food if you're worried that you're going to get too clean, right?
I think that's a really good idea. Dirt is good, as long as it doesn't have glyphosate in it.
The other day, I almost pulled a weed in a public space because I was like, maybe they won't use Roundup if I pull this weed. And I didn't do it. But and then I see people out there with those big, 5-gallon jugs or 3 or whatever it is, of Roundup, and they're spraying it. And it's like, when are you guys going to wake up and be done with that?
Here's a story. I just thought about this. So when we first moved to Colorado, we spent most of the summer in the mountains. And, we were we weren't working. We didn't do anything. We enjoyed the mountains, and it was amazing. But we were in way western Colorado, and we got to this really beautiful campsite on the river. And it was amazing. It was awesome. That's all we did is we camped and we fished and we hiked. And we even went to laundromats to clean our clothes, and it was great. So we pull up, and who is there but the park ranger spraying beautiful mountains of Colorado. And what he tells me is, oh, it's not that bad. It hasn't hurt me yet. I'm like, I know, yeah. That was terrible. Well, but it makes no sense. I mean, and I was floored. I was completely flabbergasted that in the mountains where it's supposed to be wild, right? It's supposed to be wild. We're supposed to have weeds and grass and all of these native grasses, and they're spraying
right.
it. Anyway, so I put up a little bit of a fight to not stay there, but we stayed there for the night. Made me angry. So I think it's interesting, though, too, how toxic thoughts can be. And that's what I would love for you to talk about. Well, and I know that we're going to do a series of this. So am I getting too far ahead?
No. So, yes, our thoughts can be toxic, and the thoughts of other people can be toxic. And we might be picking up on other people's toxic thoughts. So imagine being judgmental. So one of my teachers is Lee Kaiser of Brighton, Colorado. And he says that when you go out of your way, let's say you've been held up in traffic on the highway by somebody who is driving 55 in the passing lane. And you get a chance to pass them, and you want to look at that person who was just doing that. Well, he says that's toxic. You're being judgmental, and you actually harm that person with your gaze.
So throwing the finger is probably not a good idea.
No.
Just kidding.
So I try.
I wouldn't do that. But I do look at them in the windows sometimes.
Right. I try not to, because after he said that, I don't want to do harm.
Yeah.
And, you can feel it when somebody is being judgmental about your appearance, or being judgmental about what you are saying or doing. I remember when there was a joke that went around that if you went running, it was so new that somebody would stop and ask you if you needed a ride. So I remember going back to St. Louis, where I'm from, after being active here in Colorado, and feeling like people watched me. Like, what is she doing,
Why is she moving like that?
So, being judgmental, we can do it, other people can do it, and it puts a toxic load into our environment, our mental environment and emotional environment.
That makes sense. So, do you think that'll wrap it up for this time? Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say that I personally do not like the phrase clean eating.
Okay.
I want to be careful and have healthful choices, but that phrase to me starts sounding endless. How clean are you going to be? And if let's say you're traveling and you're in a food desert, or you can't get organic food. I was anorexic as a kid, and I don't need to get into the whole mindset where food is an enemy. So,
and it can be. We can make it that way.
So for some people, clean eating might be a good phrase. For me, I choose not to use it.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think that, it's just like food. I think words are unique to us, and they mean different things to each of us, and they all give us a different feeling, or, a different feeling. And, different foods are good for different people. And I say this a lot, and I say it because my mother was sensitive to blueberries. We tested her, did her food sensitivities, and she was sensitive to blueberries. And so I say a lot of times, just because blueberry is good for one person doesn't mean it's good for everybody. Now, it was only for a short period of time. Once we brought her body back to balance, there's no more sensitivity to blueberries. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's mostly just an immune response. You have sensitivities and allergies, and they're different parts of the immune system. And allergies show up immediately, essentially, think about anaphylactic shock, things like that. But then sensitivities can show up the next day to maybe 9-10 days later.
Wow.
So that's what's really hard about understanding your body and working through those motions, so you understand what actually is good for you. So that's where sensitivity testing comes in, because that can help. And if we see that everything's red, then we think they're not necessarily sensitive to all of these things. It's more of an immune response. So we've got some balancing we need to do. And then we run another food sensitivity test, and we go back to green and yellow.
So it's situational.
It is. Absolutely.
Okay, well, cool. Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll be back.
Yeah, we will do another one on toxins. We tend to rotate our feeds, so when next time we do it, we'll probably be on Fran's feed, but who knows? We kind of forget too. But let us know if you have questions. You can post them below. Of course, go to our website. So you can go to reallyflourish.com, and you can go to tastelifenutrition.com. And just let us know if there's anything that you need. Y'all have a great day. And if it's beautiful weather like it is here, go outside and get some sun.
Cool.
Bye.